For most of the 20th century, General Electric was the company people meant when they said American industry. Light bulbs, turbines, jet engines, medical scanners, appliances, power plants, NBC. It was in the original Dow Jones Industrial Average in 1896. It returned in 1907 and stayed there for more than a century. Then in June of 2018, GE was removed from the Dow. By 2021, the company announced it would break itself into three public companies: healthcare, energy, and aviation. By April of 2024, the old conglomerate was gone. GE Healthcare was already separate. GE Vernova had been spun out. What remained under the GE ticker was GE Aerospace. The popular story is that GE got too big. That's close, but not precise enough. GE did not die because it owned too many industrial businesses. Many of those businesses were valuable. GE died as a conglomerate because it became too dependent on a financial engine that made the whole company harder to understand, harder to fund, and harder to repair when the cycle turned. The industrial icon had a bank inside it, and eventually the bank ate the icon. Quick recap. Every company is shaped by four forces: market, the conditions they operate in; money, how they're funded, and what that costs them; management, the decisions made at the top; moment, the timing and events they didn't choose. All four are always present. Only one is decisive. GE is a money case. Management built the structure, so management carries responsibility. But the thing that forced the breakup was not one bad product cycle or one missed market. It was the capital structure, the hidden liabilities, and the financial complexity around the company. GE's markets were not one market. That was the point. Aviation, healthcare, imaging, power turbines, renewable energy, appliances, media, oil and gas, financial services. For decades, the conglomerate theory was that GE could allocate capital better than the market could. Strong businesses would fund weak businesses. Management talent could move across divisions. The company could smooth cycles because not every industry would be down at once. Some of those markets were excellent. Aviation was and remains a world-class franchise. Healthcare imaging had durable demand. Power had a massive installed base, but several markets turned against GE at the wrong times. The power business weakened as demand for gas turbines slowed. Oil and gas exposure became painful after the Baker Hughes deal. Appliances had already become a lower margin business and was sold. Media was sold. Finance was shrinking. Market pressure explains why pieces of GE underperformed. It does not explain why the entire structure became untenable. A normal industrial company can have a bad power cycle and survive. A focused aerospace company can have a downturn and still be understandable to investors. GE's problem was that every market issue landed on top of a balance sheet people no longer trusted. Market mixed. Some businesses were weak, some were exceptional. Money is where GE's decline becomes legible. GE Capital began as a useful financing arm. It helped customers buy GE equipment. It financed aircraft, energy projects, real estate, consumer credit, and commercial loans. Over time, it became a profit engine of its own. That was the temptation. Financial earnings were smoother, faster, and often more valuable to Wall Street than slow industrial earnings. Under Jack Welch, GE Capital grew into a central part of the earnings machine. Under Jeff M. Melt, GE tried to shrink and simplify pieces of it. But the company entered the 2008 financial crisis with enormous financial exposure. The danger was not just size, the danger was opacity. A jet engine business is hard, but investors can understand the order book, the installed base, and the service revenue. A medical scanner business is hard, but the economics are visible. GE Capital made the whole company harder to read. It mixed industrial cycles with credit cycles, insurance assumptions, real estate exposure, and short-term funding confidence. When a company becomes harder to read, investors demand a discount before the actual numbers break. The crisis exposed the contradiction. Investors thought they owned an industrial champion. In stress, GE needed the kind of confidence a financial institution needs. Its short-term funding mattered, its credit rating mattered, its financial assets mattered, its dividend mattered. GE cut its dividend in 2009 for the first time since the Great Depression era. The company sold assets, reduced GE capital, and tried to return to its industrial core. But the old liabilities kept surfacing. In 2018, GE disclosed a large insurance reserve shortfall tied to legacy long-term care insurance and took a major charge. The company also faced pension obligations, debt, weak free cash flow, and investor distrust around accounting quality. Larry Culp's repair plan after 2018 was essentially a balance sheet repair plan. Sell assets, reduce debt, improve cash flow, simplify the company, and ultimately split it into pieces investors could understand. GE said it expected more than $75 billion of gross debt reduction from the end of 2018 through 2021. The later spin-offs completed the logic. That is money as the decisive force. The company's industrial pieces were worth more apart because the conglomerate balance sheet had become a tax on every piece. Money, decisive. Management is deeply implicated. Jack Welch did not accidentally build GE capital. He used it. GE became famous for predictable earnings, aggressive performance culture, and relentless portfolio management. The company bought, sold, restructured, and reported with a precision Wall Street loved. That precision had a cost. When a company becomes known for never missing the number becomes the product. Financial engineering and operating performance start to blur. Jeff Immelt inherited GE days before September 11th. He had to manage through the financial crisis, the collapse of GE Capital's model, and industrial cycles that turned ugly. Some of his decisions made the problem worse. The Alstom Power acquisition in 2015 increased exposure to a power market that was already weakening. The Baker Hughes transaction increased oil and gas exposure near a difficult part of the cycle. John Flannery tried to cut deeper and lasted barely a year. Larry Culp finally did what the system required. He stopped defending the old conglomerate logic and dismantled it. So management matters twice. Earlier, management built and defended the complexity. Later, management unwound it. But the decisive force remains money, because the breakup was not primarily a strategic brainstorm. It was a repair job forced by debt, liabilities, investor distrust, and the cost of carrying too much financial history inside one ticker. Management, responsible for the structure, not the force that finally broke it. GE had bad timing in several directions. The 2008 crisis hit GE Capital directly. The shale and oil cycles complicated energy bets. The gas turbine market slowed after GE had doubled down on power. COVID later hit aviation, GE's strongest remaining business, at the exact moment the company was trying to stabilize. Those moments mattered. But GE's problem was not that one unlucky event killed a healthy company. It was that each external shock revealed how little room the structure had left. That is the diagnostic. If every downturn becomes a balance sheet event, the problem is not just timing. The problem is money. By the time GE announced the three-way split in 2021, the logic was obvious. Healthcare needed its own capital structure. Energy needed its own investor base and turnaround plan. Aviation needed to stop being valued through the fog of legacy liabilities. The moment did not kill GE. It forced GE to admit the conglomerate was already over. Moment. Repeated stress test, not the cause. So let's grade them out. Market, mixed, with some weak businesses and some extraordinary ones. Management, responsible for building the complexity and slow to abandon it. Moment, repeated shocks that expose the weakness. Money, decisive. GE is not a story about a company with no good businesses left. That's the important part. GE Aerospace is a real franchise. GE Healthcare is a real company. GE Vernova has hard problems, but it is a real energy business with a real installed base. The failure was the wrapper. That is also why the breakup was not simply an admission of defeat. It was a recognition that the market could value three understandable companies better than one legendary but unreadable one. Healthcare investors could own healthcare. Energy investors could underwrite energy risk. Aerospace investors could own engines without having to price every legacy liability attached to the old parent. For decades, the conglomerate structure promised that GE could make unrelated businesses worth more together. By the end, the structure made them worth less together. Investors could not see through the liabilities. Management could not allocate capital cleanly. Every division carried the shadow of the whole. That is what money does when it becomes decisive. It changes the value of everything around it. The lesson is not that conglomerates always fail. The lesson is that a conglomerate only works when the center clarifies capital allocation. Once the center obscures risk, every good business inside the structure starts paying for every bad liability inside the structure. GE spent more than a century building the most famous industrial conglomerate in America. Then it spent 6 years admitting the pieces were stronger without it. Next case is Boeing, same industrial America, very different failure. Subscribe.